Next on Broadway Profiles, the return of To Kill a Mockingbird. Jeff Daniels and Aaron Sorkin tell us how they've brought Atticus Finch to the Broadway stage. Plus, one of the best films of 2020. I'll talk to a Broadway icon who made an explosive appearance in Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods. And no hood like motherhood. We'll talk to the stars and creator of Moms the Musical. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is Broadway Profiles, presented by Broadway.com. Thanks for being here for Broadway Profiles. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and we've got another good one for you this week because Broadway is coming back, and we can't wait. Broadway is back, and so is The Boss. For the first time since March of 2020, one of our Broadway theaters is open at full capacity, thanks to Bruce Springsteen. This is the very moment he took the stage for the very first time post-pandemic.
I strolled all alone to a fallout zone, came out with my soul untouched. I heard the clouded wrath of the crowd when they said sit down. I stood up.
A fully vaccinated crowd at the St. James Theater welcomed the return of Springsteen on Broadway. In addition to requiring proof of vaccination, the St. James has an upgraded ventilation system and enhanced cleaning and sanitation protocols. It's a very limited run for The Boss, with performances running only through September 4th. Most other Broadway shows return later that month or in October. Aaron Sorkin's To Kill a Mockingbird returns to Broadway this October at the Shubert Theater. And now we know Jeff Daniels will reprise his originating role as Atticus Finch. During the original run, we talked to both Aaron Sorkin and Jeff Daniels about bringing Atticus to the Broadway stage.
Atticus is a country lawyer
who handles land disputes, service agreements, and foreclosures. Occasionally he writes a will, trying to raise 2 kids by himself.
Suddenly a murder case is put in his lap.
The judge comes over one day and says there's a trial for a colored man named Tom Robinson that if he doesn't get better representation, he's going to end up in prison for 18 years.
Tom Robinson, a black man living in Macomb, is accused of raping a white woman.
If you don't come in and handle this because you're actually qualified, you have some brains in your head, the guy's going to go away, and he's completely innocent. Atticus believes in things like being respectful, doing the right thing, apologizing when you're wrong, being honest, telling the truth. He really believes that there is goodness in everyone. Aaron has taken the position with Atticus that that belief gets challenged in this play.
In the novel, Atticus is Atticus from the beginning to the end. Atticus doesn't change. In the play, he wrestles with the questions. He becomes Atticus by the end of the play.
Atticus is a lot like my dad. I would call him when I was in college and go, yeah, I took this test and a friend of mine gave me the notes and blah, 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 and I got a B on it, so it was, I got it, so that, but it's not really a class I care about. Half an hour later, he'd call me back and he'd go, that's not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to study and get a B because you earned it. I grew up with an Atticus.
There was never even a conversation about casting another actor. It was Jeff Daniels from the very first phone call. What makes Jeff great as Atticus, first and foremost, is simply his skills as an actor. He has ungodly skills. The moment he walks on stage, he just puts the audience in his pocket and doesn't let him go until the curtain call.
The thing that surprised me the most is how relevant this is today. You look at what's going on in America, the divide in this country, and a lot of the things that Atticus has to deal with in the play, America has to deal with this afternoon. Near the end of the closing argument, Atticus turns to the jury, which is actually staged, so I turn to the audience, and the audience becomes the jury. And I go, we have to heal this wound or we will never stop bleeding. It's a pretty good Sorkin line.
new MJ in town, Miles Frost will now originate the role of Michael Jackson in the upcoming new musical based on the life of the King of Pop. Frost actually takes over the role from Tony nominee Ephraim Sykes, who's leaving the production to star in a movie. MJ the Musical features 25 of Michael's biggest songs. Performances begin in December with an opening night in February. Another big sign that Broadway is on the way back. One of the theater district's biggest and best-loved restaurants is once again open for business. Broadway.com correspondent Charlie Cooper has the story.
New York City's theater district is truly back in business. Bond 45 reopened in the heart of Times Square. I went to the restaurant's ribbon cutting for the grand reopening.
We can do it!
What does Bond 45 mean to you? What does this reopening mean to you, and what does it signify, like this moment?
To pay the bills and pay the... Come on! I'll tell you what really is nice. All the people we could put back to work. You want to know really what it's all about? It's about living in a world and helping and putting people, a lot of people we furloughed. So, and there's a lot of actors that were furloughed, so it's about being alive.
So many people are so excited to get back into theaters, get their butts in the seats, seeing some of their favorite shows, but then also right afterwards coming to enjoy meals and things like that. It almost completes the experience. Can you kind of talk about just the importance for the community in general?
68% of tourism is cultural, and arts and culture tourists spend almost twice as much as other tourists. So when we talk about the arts and culture sector, and we talk about the huge devastation that our sector has experienced, if a successful business like Bond 45 is using as part of their business model the existence of the surrounding arts and culture institutions, then we have to ask the question, how is this true for all over this country? Arts and culture contributes to the local economy of every single state in our union. We're talking about at least $1 billion to each state's economy, and they employ at least 10,000 arts and culture workers in each state's economy. So if we're just talking about the financial and economic impact of the arts and culture sector, individually, it's astronomical. But then when we talk about how it affects bars, restaurants, tourism, hotels, you know, the story of Bond 45 is the story of America.
So Miguel, you helped cut the ribbon. What does that feel like for you to be doing something in person again, but especially at a restaurant that means so much to the theater community?
I mean, I think you can feel, you know, it's beautiful weather outside. There's like hope in the air, you know, stuff like this, like a staple of the Times Square, you know, area, the Times Square sort of vibe is coming back to life. And, you know, we're going to start rehearsal soon. There's so many Broadway people here that, you know, ready to get back in the game. And those are the kind of things that we've just needed, those little breaths of life for this last year and a half where so much has gone on in everyone's lives. And I think being able to be, you know, right next to people and give them hugs and not worry about it. It's still weird a little bit. It feels like we're moving towards getting, you know, into the life that we want to get into and doing what we want, doing what we love.
The Boy Wizard is headed back to Broadway. A newly reimagined and slimmed-down version of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child will cast its spell on Broadway in November. The big difference this time is that Harry Potter will be staged as one show. When it first opened in 2018, it was presented in 2 parts. Cursed Child returns to the Lyric Theater November 16th. In January, the play also opens in San Francisco, followed by Toronto next May. It was the final screen appearance for the great Chadwick Boseman, Spike Lee's latest Oscar-nominated film, Da 5 Bloods. And maybe you don't know it, but one of Broadway's biggest voices has a major role in that film, now streaming on Netflix.
Time has come today. Young hearts can go their way.
Norm Lewis is co-starring in Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods, streaming now on Netflix. It's a story of 4 African-American veterans returning to Vietnam to find the remains of their fallen squad leader and to search for buried treasure. As for Norm Lewis, well, he made history a few years back as Broadway's first Black Phantom of the Opera. We talked about his career, starring in a Spike Lee joint, and much more. Check it out.
Spike Lee, have you known him for a long time? And
he goes to see Broadway all the time. And we were lucky enough to have him come see Porgy and Bess when I was in it. I think he came like 4 or 5 times. And he brought his family and other friends, and we built up a rapport that way. And then just over the years, seeing him at different events. And then finally, I got a chance to do his show, She's Gotta Have It, the TV series. And from that, he got in contact with me to do the Five Bloods.
And congratulations with the, the nominations for the SAG Award, which always, means a lot going forward.
Absolutely. Just being part of that ensemble was tremendous. Just to be in the movie itself was just tremendous for me. But to be recognized that way with such great cast members, I just feel so honored, and especially being picked by our peers for this nomination. So I'm really excited.
Talk about the character, what you were drawn to initially with Eddie.
Well, Eddie, is one of those guys who's kind of a showboat, kind of a charmer. He's got a lot of the qualities that I think that I might have. The only thing is that, he's hiding all of his, behind all of that, a lot of pain and a lot of, challenges, because, he was married before several times, and he spent a lot of money, but he's still kind of trying to have that same image of being rich and a showboat. And then it finally comes to a head, and he has to let the guys know that he's not what he appears to be. And so it was great to have that dynamic in the movie, and then, eventually finding out what happens to him at the end.
Yes, I did scream out loud. I'll tell you that. I screamed out loud. I didn't feel like I had a warning.
No spoiler alerts. No spoiler if you haven't seen it yet.
What was it like to see it kind of all come together with the historical footage? Because I always think that obviously adds so much, but really just puts things into context.
I didn't know the statistics as far as African Americans being there. All the movies that I'd seen before, there were, black guys sprinkled within the scenes and around, the perimeter. For us to find out that America at the time was 11% African American. That's both men and women. Mm-hmm. But we made up 33% of the Army in Vietnam. And at just those numbers, I was like, wow, I had no idea. So it really helped us develop our characters as we were going on with the movie.
I got my gal, I got my song, got him the whole day long.
You sang on set, correct? In the movie?
I did.
I read that. I was reading a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I have to ask you about it.
Yeah, there was a moment where I had to do my critical scene and get ready for that, and so as I was getting ready for that, there was a moment that Spike came to me and say, look, as soon as we get this done, we're heading back to New York. Sing something from Porgy and Bess. A boat leaving from New York. I'm like, oh, okay. And literally, as I was getting the makeup and all the stuff on, I was singing, there's a boat leaving for New York.
That's Corbin Bleu, a veteran of Broadway shows like In the Heights and Kiss Me Kate. Or maybe you know him as Chad in Disney's fan favorite High School Musical. Next up, hosting this year's virtual Jimmy Awards, also known as the Tony Awards for high school students.
Going to an arts high school myself, and having always been an advocate for arts education and for bringing arts to students, it's so important to instill that at such an early age, to be able to have an outlet, to be able to have an area to be creative in, to be able to be yourself. For so many people, the arts become a safe haven. Being able to host the Jimmy Awards that are coming up, I'm so excited to be able to honor young theater students, because it really does mean so much, and you don't realize how much of a boost it can give you.
The Jimmy Awards are July 15th at 7:30 at JimmyAwards.com. We still have plenty more to talk about on this edition of Broadway Profiles. Coming up, when Broadway comes back, it'll be a whole new world. You'll meet the star of Aladdin. I'm Tamsin Fidel, and you're watching Broadway Profiles. When Broadway reopens, one of the shows we're most looking forward to seeing again is Disney's Aladdin. The show features classic songs and new favorites, plus an incredible set that includes a magic carpet ride. But when Broadway comes back, Ainsley Mellon is expected to jump back into the title role of Aladdin, and he's this week's Fresh Face.
Not coming from the States and sort of viewing Broadway from afar, it always seemed like this sort of unreachable, unattainable thing, especially, you know, growing up in a country town in Australia. Growing up in Bathurst was a beautiful experience. I always look back on that time fondly. I remember, you know, traveling down to Sydney to the theatre and to the city and the harbour and sort of being swept up in this energy, and I guess that's part of the reason, you know, why I pursued this sort of career. And I always said if I wasn't doing performing, I would probably be a maths teacher or something like that. But, you know, ask me to do calculations now and I couldn't help you, I'm sorry. My mum and dad put me into dance lessons when I was about 3 or 4 years old. So it felt like I was performing from a very, very young age. You know, I remember getting the soundtrack to Mary Poppins when I was younger because I love tap musicals. I used to take this out to the dance room, this soundtrack, and play that and dance along to it, dance along to the tapping sounds that I could hear on the recording. Landing Aladdin in Australia was already just mind-blowing. The fact that we get to transfer to Broadway, it's the stuff of dreams, isn't it? People still come up to stage door and they say, you know, I love this film and I love this character and this means so much to me. You're reminded of the gravity of what you're doing for these people every day. It's not heart surgery or it's not something like that, but at the same time you're bringing joy to these people. I used to watch that film when I was little and now I get to play that character on stage. And who doesn't want to be able to step into a Disney film, you know, every now and then? It's just a happy place to be.
There ain't no hood like motherhood. Moms a Musical is coming to NYC and the world this month for one day only. July 24th, Moms a Musical, the story of 2 new mothers and unlikely friends, will perform in New York and stream online, tackling the biggest issues and examining the pressures faced by women today. Paul Wontorek is here with the stars and the details.
Moms the Musical is a heartfelt tuner about the journey of becoming a new mom. I spoke with creator Kelly Surratt and director Victoria Ray Sook about the birth of this new show.
Moms the Musical. Talk about where it came from.
Where did it come from? Well, there was one point, I think my daughter was maybe a week or 2 old, and I looked in the mirror and I had like the ratty t-shirt and my hair hadn't been washed and like everything was leaking, and I was just like, who is this woman? Like, this is not me. It just, motherhood takes you by surprise. Like, there is no other way to describe it. I mean, a beautiful journey, a wonderful, messy, I mean, becoming a mother is one of the best things I've ever done, but it just, yeah, it takes you by storm.
What did you respond to about the show?
I really loved the fact that it was these 2 very different women who were teaching each other things, and that we could learn about motherhood. I am not yet a mother, but I learned about the French Revolution from musical theater, learned about Alexander Hamilton from musical theater.
I learned all my history from
exactly, and there we go. And I was learning about motherhood and learning about women, and it was so exciting because mothers are often the best friends, and here they were the leads, and I thought it was just so special. You know, there are these beautiful solos and then numbers that have you rolling on the floor laughing, and it's just this story that follows 2 women who just really help each other. And I think it's a musical celebrating women as much as it is celebrating mothers, and I think that's what's really special about it.
What I love that you guys are working on currently is, you know, there's an age-old Broadway practice of having investor auditions, where you invite people with money into a room to see your show and hopefully put money, and you're doing it online.
Yeah, I think what's really kind of cool about what's come out of COVID is that, you know, we can live stream this. Yes. The general public ticket sales are actually going to be donated to a nonprofit called Moms for Moms New York City, which is an incredible organization here in the city that supports single mothers. provides them with the tools they need, the pre and postnatal support. And so it's kind of cool that we're able to use this, like you said, the age-old investor audition to also really help out the moms.
Yeah, we're helping our show while we're helping other mothers, so it's great.
This is Broadway Profiles. We'll be right back. And that's going to do it for us until next week. I'm Tamsin Fidel, and this is Broadway Profiles, presented by Broadway.com.